if you want to visualize this, but don't get scared, okay? But if we're going to visualize this, it's like awakening is going through portals. First, you need to have the guts, the courage to open the door. But once you open the door, you enter in a completely different arena, in a different state of consciousness. You basically made a quantum leap. Phase 1, the small awakening, is absolutely a quantum leap. You're going to feel like a new person, and for a moment it's going to feel great. But then, when you're in this new arena, you left the door open. And so now the unconscious is coming with you. And now the unconscious sees the potential of more unconsciousness, more things to scare you with, more things to make you afraid of. Things you never knew you were afraid of before. More things are now going to come into your awareness that were never in your awareness. Welcome to Self-Mastery School for Moms, where you learn how to silence your inner saboteur, awaken your energy body, and connect to your higher self. You will go from mom to master, so you can make each day your masterpiece. My name is Janice Nelson, author and self-mastery teacher of Fabulous One Philosophy. I'm on a mission to help you become the awakened mom. You are Fabulous One, and all you have to do is remember what you forgot. Hello, Fabulous One. We're moving through different phases, and the phase where we are right now, the one who's going to be the most successful is the one who can help you implement. First, we needed to have the knowledge. We need to have knowledge about spiritual awakening, about connecting to our higher self. We need to have an awareness of what it means to awaken. And there are plenty of teachers who can teach you about that, including myself. I can talk for hours and hours and hours about this subject. It's a brilliant subject. I can't stop speaking about it. I can't stop learning more about it. My conscious mind is insatiable. I want to understand and understand and understand. You know, at a certain point, some of my friends were a little concerned. They're like, you're only reading books. You're reading books and books and books. You don't want to do anything anymore. You don't want to go out. You don't want to have drinks with us. You don't want to come for dinner. You don't want to do nothing. You just want to talk about your books. Yeah, true. Absolutely. And it's like a wonderful world when I go into my mind. My mind becomes this wonderful place where I can explore and find out new things and travel into the universe. Why would I want to go for dinner and eat that toxic food that they present to you in the restaurants? No, I want to stay home, go into my books and fantasize about the universe. And so lucky for me, I'm married and I have a daughter, so I'm somewhat normal. Somewhat. You have to ask my husband to confirm that. I don't know. But the fact that he's still here after 20 years, I'm doing something right? Yes, this year, September, we'll be married for 18 years. So my husband is absolutely my soulmate. And I just feel like I'm already so abundant and the luckiest woman in the world. And I'm just very happy, extremely happy. And I'm just here sharing my joy, sharing from my overflow. Because otherwise it becomes too much, you know. If you are full, but when source energy comes pouring into you, this is what awakening really is, which is absolutely magnificent, but it can become a torture as well when you are misunderstood or when you're not in the awakened state. And speaking about the awakened state, I speak about that in the previous video or in another video. You gotta look it up or just type it in, the awakened state. I think I have it in the title, where I teach you that if you're not in the awakened state, that you don't understand how soul, mind, and body works. And if I want to go a little bit technical, like side note, you basically become an open and closed system. And when you open up to source energy, you allow a lot of life force energy to come pouring in. But then you need to know how to close it again. And a lot of us don't know how to close it back up. And first of all, in the beginning, we are very rigid. We're very closed off, closed-minded. And that's when you go through phase 1, which is a small awakening, which is the understanding, which is so important. And so you start to have an understanding about your soul, mind, and body, your essence, about who you are, who you really are. You know, another side note, every time I talk to my husband about, but I need to help mothers remember who they really are. And because why I want to do that? Because I want us mothers to help our children to remember who they really are. But here's the most beautiful part about this. Our children already know who they really are, but they don't have the intellectual concept about who they really are. But on a heart level, they know who they really are, especially from 0 to 7. From 0 to 7, they are fully immersed as a soul, mind, body phenomena, right? This is how they operate, completely in alignment. But at 7, when the frontal cortex kicks in and you start to become more of an identity, a persona, this is when slowly the persona is created, the personal identity. And now the intellect is trying to grasp the subconscious. The intellect is trying to grasp what is already known on a heart-based level. Now the intellect is trying to grasp it. And if the intellect can't grasp it, it gets rejected. And this is how you split. This is how you have one part of you which is in the light and the other part of you which is in unconsciousness. One part of you that is conscious, that is fully aware, and then there are a lot of parts of you that you are completely unaware of. As you grow older, you slowly fall asleep. So you become aware, understanding that you are a soul, mind, and body. And then what happens? That's when you start to be convinced that you need to have spiritual practices and spiritual tools in order to make it to the next level, to go to the next step. And so now you're trying to implement these tools and these practices, and you're trying to get to the big awakening. And that's where we are right now, where you're just doing things for the sake of doing things, because it's not your fault, because, you know, the spiritual teachers are teaching us this. It's the master teachers who are leading the pack, right? And so they're not wrong. The teachers aren't wrong. Nobody's wrong, okay? First and foremost, nobody's wrong. But there's something going on that we are completely unaware of. Is that when you go from one stage to the other stage, from one phase to the other phase, the inner saboteur, the shadow, walks with you. And I know this is a very scary concept, and don't shoot the messenger, but this is the whole conundrum we're in that most of us are clueless about. Clueless because who dares to speak about it in this way? Who is brave enough to tell you, look, when you have a small awakening, the shadow has a small awakening. The shadow becomes bigger. And this coincides with what Carl Jung says, who says anything you resist will persist and grow in size. Grow in size. When I read that sentence of Carl Jung, I was familiar with the concept that anything I resist will persist. It's not going to go away. Anything I reject is not really going to go away. Anything that I refuse to talk about is not really going away. If I refuse to talk to someone, the issue is still there. I just ignore it, right? But what we don't understand and realize is as we grow older, we expand involuntarily, because that's the purpose of the subconscious mind. The divine feminine energy always expands. So this is where Carl Jung is trying to make us aware of the fact that it grows in size. You can't do away with it. Worse, it grows in size. It becomes bigger and bigger. So the longer you don't deal with it, the bigger it becomes. And then it becomes an even bigger animal to deal with. It becomes even harder to deal with because you've waited 5 years, 10 years to deal with it. Now it has become something larger than life, right? So the shadow walks with you in these stages, which is a very hard concept to grasp. And I'm not going to attempt to explain it all to you in this video. But you have to become aware that now you're moving from your small awakening to your big awakening. So I have to ask you some questions. On what foundation, on what framework is your small awakening based upon? Because based upon the foundational framework that you have been given by X master teacher, I'm not pointing any fingers, but I'm just saying, whatever the foundation is that you have adopted, you've even done it yourself maybe without even realizing it. Maybe there was no master teacher who taught you anything. Maybe you just trying to puzzle it together by listening to the internet and listening to people online on YouTube and on social media, and you thought you would be able to puzzle it together yourself and then venture out on into the subconscious to go find your answer or have your awakening. And then, which is something that I did actually, now that I think about it, which is something that I did, but I'm a completely different type of person. And so what has always been unique to me is my ability to separate the intellect from the emotion. And so therefore, when I became a seeker, a spiritual seeker, when I saw very emotional images sent to me by the subconscious, intellectually I was able to distance myself and examine what I see from a non-emotional perspective. That means that even though I was unconscious back in the day, I was actually already conscious, but I was just unconscious about it. So I call people like myself who are completely unaware of who they are, unconsciously conscious. Now, if you are unconsciously conscious, it's easier for you to go on your own journey and do your own thing and figure it out by yourself, because you're not going to get dragged into the emotion of it all. But if you are fully unconscious, which is something you have to admit to yourself, which is already the hardest thing, but I'm telling you, if you can do that, you open the portal completely. This is how I start my book. I start my book by saying, you are fake until you realize you are fake. Only then can you become fabulous. And then I say, wait, before you close my book, wait, it's not what you think it is. It's just because unconsciousness makes you completely unaware of who you really are. And therefore, the only thing you can move with is fear. And so now you're entering into the unknown. You're entering into the subconscious with fear. And so as long as the subconscious shows you something beautiful and magnificent, you're going to be ecstatic. You're going to be full of light and full of love, because that's what the small awakening allows you to do, to step into the subconscious. When you have your small awakening, you can go into the subconscious and then you see beauty everywhere, and it's amazing, and it's the most amazing feeling as well. And it's also a bit of a trickery, because it makes you feel you are already awakened or enlightened, but it's just one step. But then what happens next is that the shadow follows after you. The unconscious mind comes with, grows in size. So now the unconscious mind just leveled up on consciousness. And then I'm using words. And sometimes my words can be confusing, and I try not to be. If I am confusing, please let me know. If I need to speak more clearly about a subject or say it more clearly, please let me know. And if you wish to talk to me privately, you can come to my school where we can have the conversation, just you and me. So if you want to visualize this, but don't get scared, okay? But if we're going to visualize this, it's like awakening is going through portals. First, you need to have the guts, the courage to open the door. But once you open the door, you enter in a completely different arena, in a different state of consciousness. You basically made a quantum leap. Phase 1, the small awakening, is absolutely a quantum leap. You're going to feel like a new person, and for a moment it's going to feel great. But then, when you are in this new arena, you left the door open. And so now the unconscious is coming with you. And now the unconscious sees the potential of more unconsciousness, more things to scare you with, more things to make you afraid of. Things you never knew you were afraid of before. More things are now going to come into your awareness that were never in your awareness. And if you don't have a system, a method, a way to move yourself to the next phase, go through the next phase, have your big awakening, you're going to stay here in this arena, stuck in limbo, and it's going to feel like limbo. Because you're going to realize at a certain point, you never left. You never left duality. You never left the unconscious mind. She's still right there, standing next to you. And that's when you become actually very angry. And if we want to go very extreme, you can even become nihilistic. Because who is preparing you for phase 2? And who is teaching you phase 3? Now, I've heard some other teachers complain about this and say the people don't want to know about phase 2 and phase 3. The people just stuck on phase 1 because all they want is just to feel better. And they nag us, or they harass us. Help me end my suffering. And so as a teacher, you're tempted to guide the people then through phase 1 to have the small awakening, because you know how amazing they're going to feel. But there are also quite a lot of teachers out there that have not been through a big awakening themselves. So they can take you only to phase 1, only to the small awakening, and that's where they at. And I just remembered a funny comedian who was like, you know how your wife is always trying to improve things for you, but you just want to sit on the couch with your chips and beer and watch your game. But here your wife comes with a healthy sandwich, whole grain sandwich with lettuce and tomatoes, and she swaps out your chips for a whole grain sandwich, and she's like, isn't this better? Ain't this better? Ain't this better? Ain't this better? Ain't this better? And this is what these teachers are doing to you. They're bringing you into the small awakening. You have this epiphany. You have your aha moment. You have your moment of euphoria, complete and utter alignment, complete alignment. You could not been happier ever in your life. This feeling is just irreplaceable. And you praise whoever brought you there. You praise them for leading you to this place until darkness sets in again. Until the unconscious becomes activated again. And it's like I hear these teachers say to you when they bring you into the small awakening, and you're like going back into the darkness. I hear these spiritual teachers say like, ain't this better? Ain't this better? When you first arrive and you're so happy, you praise them, you You make them feel like these teachers are godlike, right? Thank you for bringing me here. And the teacher's like, yeah, ain't this better? Ain't this better? Because those teachers know in the back of their mind, they know what's going to happen to you because it happened to them. But they haven't figured out yet how to go through the next door and through the next door. So there are three. So phase 1, small awakening. Phase 2, the big awakening. Phase 3, the awakened state. Only when you're in the awakened state will you be like this all day, every day. For real, for real. Not just smiling all day, every day on camera, pretending to be smiling all day, pretending to be happy, because it's a form of pretending. Because if I'm just happy here on camera when I'm shooting and recording for you, but the rest of the day I'm moody and grumpy to my husband, moody and grumpy to my daughter, don't want to do nothing, right? Just only here because of what? Attention, followers, likes, subscribers. So I can keep up a facade here, right? But in my real life, I'm not really that happy. In my real life, I don't know how to implement. In my real life, I didn't go through the big awakening. So this big shadow hovering over me, I'm not trying to show you that one on the internet, but that one is at home. When I go to sleep at night, I gotta deal with that. No, I'm not coming from that position. And you can hear it as well when those teachers speak. They speak about their own darkness that they had to deal with. And and some of them are even truthful. They tell you how they're still stuck in darkness themselves. So I applaud those teachers because at least they're honest. They're honest. And they're honestly telling you, look, I've been through phase 1 successfully. I'm here now in the transition phase, because in my book I divided it in 5 stages. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. And stage 1 is teach. Stage 2 is transcendence of the mind, which is the small awakening. And then stage 3 is the transition, which is so hard, because the only way you're going to transition through the big awakening is when you find a teacher or find it within yourself to understand how to implement, how to stay consistent, how to not quit on yourself, how to keep going into the unknown, believing in something you cannot see. How can you keep going if you have no idea where you're going? How can you keep going if you have no idea where you're going? So we have to become much more sophisticated in our teaching. And I think now the 21st century calls for the teachers who can help their students implement this. First and foremost, as the teacher, you need to be able to walk through all these doors, in and out. You need to be in phase 1, small awakening, and meet the people who are in that stage or in that phase. But you need to be able to walk through, But you need to be able to walk through phase 2, big awakening, and meet the people over there. And you need to be able to walk through the door of the awakened state and just stay there. This is really what needs to happen. And so the how is not even that important anymore. So first we have the knowledge, the understanding. Then you have the teachers who are telling you how. So now you get all the spiritual practices and the tools given to you. But the third phase, if you really want to get through this, if you really want to come out on the other side, you have to have a system of implementation. There needs to be a system of implementation, meaning that you need to have not just a method, but also who's holding you accountable to keep going. Who's holding you accountable to not give up on yourself. That's why I created my school. That's why I opened my school. not to give you a fancy understanding of who you are, Fabulous One philosophy, which is very fancy, if I say so myself. But I opened the school so that I can help you stay accountable to do the work. Because as soon as you give up on yourself, those doors close up again. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about that. They're afraid to tell you the truth. If you stop doing the work, the doors close. Unless you know how to reach the awakened state. When you are in the awakened state, the doors open and close at will. You open the doors and close the doors with your mind. You dictate the rules. The rules are no longer dictated to you. Remember Neo in the Matrix? If you want to reach that level, you need to find the one who can teach you that.
Thank you for listening. I hope you have learned new ways of seeing yourself and inspire you to go on the hero's journey to become your higher self. If you would like to deepen your understanding at your own pace and go over the complete teaching, I highly recommend you buy my book. I share 68 pages for free inside my Self-Mastery School for Moms. There's as well a secret podcast inside the school that is not shared with the public and masterclasses to help you silence your inner saboteur. Student level membership is free. If interested, go to fabulousonephilosophy.com/join school to find out more details. This was it for today. Have a great day and talk to you next time.